Welcome to the breakdown for my submission of the Endless Engine Community Challenge. It is a 3D render challenge made by Clint of Punisher channel where you have 5 weeks to make a render following some simple rules. I'm not really an artist, but I started learning 3D a few months ago and I thought I would give it at least a quick try. I hope you enjoy seeing the steps I took in making this. Here's the final result. It took me about 3 days to make it. There are a lot of things I could improve on this, but I'll talk more about that as I go on along the video. So, let's start the breakdown. I started by downloading the starter files and opening the Blender project. Everything seems to be working fine. There was a simple camera and a car animation there. The vehicle I chose is sort of a wooden cart that is propelled by gravity while you go down a road. It's basically just a few planks nailed together with wheels, and the front plank is able to rotate to control its direction with your feet. I made a very simple model for this based on some references. It has a brake lever on the side as well as some hand holders. For the character, ideally I would have wanted to have a kid model. But as modeling a new character takes quite a bit of time for me, I decided to use the only one full character I have ever made. The character already had a very low poly count, so I quickly added some rig with rig 5 for this to animate it later. For the road, I just made a simple plane across the scenario. I positioned the girl sitting on the car and added the position constraint to make it follow the sample vehicle animation. I also baked the animation so I could adjust it in the future with keyframes to make it more alive. I needed some buildings for the background, so I used this tutorial to learn how to make some out of images that work fairly good at a distance. I made 3 buildings variations with this technique. The one from the tutorial, a small mansion, and a high-rise building. I created a plan with a few subdivisions and pulled it over with sculpt tools to give it some hills and mountains. I also made the start of the road to be a path going down a mountain, so the cart going forward would make sense. I then used an array modifier to position the buildings alongside the road. Finally, I started animating the girl. I made some points where her feet should be and added a constraint to keep them there while the plane controlling the direction turns. I decided I need some mist and found a tutorial on how to use a mist pass composite to add it. I ended up not using it on the final render because it was erasing the HDRI background that I added later. I refined the animation so the hand would move and activate the brakes when she was first entering the scene. And once I was happy with the general feeling of it, I went on to do animation the fingers to wrap around it correctly. I wanted to add some spark for when the brake hits the ground, so I followed a tutorial and applied it to the project. I then followed another tutorial to try and make some simple trees. I was not very happy with the end result, but I used it anyways, and put a few trees on the map to try to make it feel more alive. I quickly modeled a lamppost and put them alongside the road. As I had some trouble with vegetation, I just downloaded a free grass model this time. But after adding them to the project, I noticed the FPS was really getting slow. I haven't checked it in a while, so I didn't know if it was the trees or the grass that was causing this issue. So I quickly opened another version of the project and re-added the trees to check. The problem was indeed the grass. I found out that I had mistakenly imported a grass plane below the surface. And the grass count was too high to begin with for this type of grass, so I fixed that by lowering the amount. I finally added an HDRI and began the render. Even using low settings for the cycles render, this took me about an hour to render on my GeForce GTX 1070 3D card. But wait, it seems I missed something. The last building made by the array modifier were overlapping. Luckily the error was only on the last 20 frames, so I rendered a fixed version of those frames and stitched them together on Blender for the final render. The final render was not that great. There is still so much more I could have made to improve this. For example, I wanted to add some real sky and clouds. The lights were very bland, I barely touched the single light I had. The buildings in the background don't even have a road attached to them, and the central road had no texture at all. But I decided to end it here. I'm mainly a programmer and didn't want to take too much time off on the other project I'm working on. I hope you enjoyed this, and until next time.